I'm excited to be joined by today's presenters, Melissa Burdick and Danny Silverman. Melissa spent a decade in Amazon from 2005 to 2015. She helped structure the early strategy for the retail consumable business and launched 300 CPG manufacturers from P&G to Burt's Bees. She was also an early member of the advertising team, AMG, creating the first e-commerce ads sponsorships for Amazon's programs. She now helps brands with their e-commerce strategies with a specialty in effective marketing and designing for online profitability. She is a partner in e-commerce strategy consulting firm Leigh and Burdick and a founder of Amazon marketing company Day One Digital. Danny leads product and corporate marketing here at Clavis Insight. He's an established industry thought leader with over 14 years of experience helping CPG, FMCG brands grow online presence and sales. Prior to joining Clavis, he led the sales and strategy support practice at Catapult eCommerce. Before that, he spent 8 years at Johnson & Johnson, where he was responsible for spearheading J&J's e-commerce strategy and capability. And before turning over to Melissa, I'd just like to hand it over to Danny for some welcoming thoughts.
Thanks, Paul, and thank you, everyone, for joining. I don't think the topic of Amazon warrants too much introduction these days. We know that they are the juggernaut, particularly here in the Americas, in terms of an e-commerce platform, all the more important, if not more so, as a media platform, and really having an impact on the entire path to purchase, regardless of whether shoppers choose to buy online or off or at another online retailer. Of course, their global presence and importance is growing as well. They've had a very strong presence for some time already in Europe and Asia. What we're now seeing is CPG, FMCG becoming ever more important and becoming an important part of strategic planning for all of our customers in pretty much every region around the world. And that was why we wanted to dedicate a summer series specifically to Amazon. We had a previous webinar on this with Euromonitor, which you can view on our site. We've had a series of blog posts as well as white papers also that are available from our website. We invite you to download them. We particularly want to invite Melissa to join us today. As an Amazon expert, I had the pleasure of working with Melissa when I was a vendor calling on Amazon when I was at J&J, and have stayed in touch with her and worked with her in various ways over the years. A real expert on the topic, continuing to work with manufacturers in this space, and has some really great firsthand knowledge and understanding of how to partner with Amazon, and was a very logical choice to be our guest speaker for today's topic. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Melissa. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. So I have two businesses now that I've launched. One is a strategy advisory with my business partner, Andrea Leigh, also former Amazonian. We have 20 years of Amazon experience, and we help manufacturers and brands with their e-commerce strategies. And then Day One Digital. If you know that term, it's kind of a synonymous with Amazon, with innovation and always changing. But it's a marketing agency that's focused on paid search and display advertising, and help brands with their marketing strategy. So today we're going to talk about building your Amazon playbook. And there's a model that I think is really helpful. And to give credit where credit is due, this is actually a model that Chris Perry, who's now at RetailNet Group, developed. And we co-presented at IRCE a few months ago and went through this model. But basically, it's a build, drive, earn model. And first, you have to build your brand on Amazon. And this is where you should start. It's about ensuring you're designing for online with the right assortment and content, being in stock and having reviews, setting your items up for success to work with Amazon's algorithms to win the buy box, have the best conversion possible, and inform customers looking for detailed product information and reviews, which are essentially your social scores. So once you've built your business on Amazon, you can then drive your business on Amazon with effective marketing and promotions. And then once you've driven your business, this is kind of the flywheel that you hope to achieve, which is all these earned benefits of growing your share, increasing your sales, and kind of all these wonderful things. So that's that's in a nutshell kind of the flywheel on Amazon, and we'll start to take a deep dive into these things. So first is about building the business and making sure that you're marketing the right offerings on the right platforms. Amazon's probably one of the most complex platforms because, or e-tailers, because it has all these different platforms with each of them have different business models. They have different assortments, different ASPs, stands for average selling price, and different targets that they're trying to achieve. And so as a brand manufacturer, really you have to plan for each of these different platforms and channels, each of which also have different buying teams. That makes it a little bit more complicated. And just to take a look into each of these. So the core platform really enables everyday shopping across millions of items. Customers are typically spearfishing or searching for one item rather than building a basket. And so to that end, Amazon's really trying to sell larger quantity sizes. They're targeting an ASP, average selling price, of anywhere between $10 to $15 at a minimum. So a lot of brands put their club packs, variety packs, and kind of bigger pack sizes. Prime Pantry enables more of a consumer-friendly and less bulky size due to its economic model, which is more of a basket building kind of business, where you build your basket and then a box ships to you for $5.99. And a popular promotion that some people like to offer is free shipping when you buy 5 or more items. So you'll see that. A lot of each of these different platforms, each of them also have different kind of promotions that work as well. Amazon Fresh enables each's individual products, what you'd find in a grocery store. For each of the Prime Pantry, Fresh, and Prime Now, kind of an interesting thing is that you have to be a Prime member. And because of that, also in each of these platforms, only first-party manufacturers and brands exist, whereas in Amazon and Amazon Business, third-party merchants also coincide as well. And then Prime Now is great for the procrastinator with really urgent needs. My personal scenario that seems to keep happening is the birthday party my child is invited to, and it's Friday and I don't have a gift. And within an hour or two, I can have that gift ready for the weekend. Also, the trip fee is subsidized because the customer provides a tip. So that's another part of the economic model there. So a lot of products that started in the offline world are not always that viable for the online channel, and brands are having to design for online. If you take laundry detergent, for example, 121-ounce, heavy, low cost-to-weight ratio, highly commoditized, widely distributed product is not economically viable for online and shipping to the customer. So Tide has done a really great job of kind of designing for online and creating unique products. They created the Tide Pod, which is a dehydrated, lightweight product. All the other laundry detergent brands have essentially kind of come out with their own type of pod. They've also created bundles, which is kind of cross-category. It's these 3 items in a box with 1 SKU. That's also kind of a e-commerce bundle. And then lastly, the last thing they've recently launched is the Smart Pouch, which, as you can see, ships 3 in a box, also very nice for the online format. So profitability plays a large role in ensuring your product can sustain on the Amazon platform. Most brands, unfortunately, know this term by now, which is CRAP, and it stands for can't realize any profit. It's Amazon's term for their unprofitable or at-risk items. And this is a true life example that happened to one of my clients where they launched a product on Amazon at $15.99, which was the suggested retail price. Walmart set the price at $9.97, so Amazon quickly price matched. One of the kind of misconceptions is that Amazon is a price leader, but they're actually typically a price follower and will price match the market. Right after Walmart's $9.97 price, Target produced a coupon, and it displayed as a new price of $7.99, so that product matched at that price. Then on top of that price was a vendor power coupon, taking that product down to $5.99. And so it was, you know, the cheapest product, the cheapest price in the marketplace. Everybody went and bought the product on Amazon, and it just made that crap problem worse. So within a month, this product was upside down in its economics. So something that we do in our consulting practice is we help a lot of our clients with their crap problems and ways to deal with it. So the next one's kind of obvious, making sure that you're in stock. So obviously empty shelves equals empty carts and wasted marketing dollars. So Amazon is moving towards, or has moved towards, automation. And inventory management is really tough, especially for new products, tail items, and high velocity items for Amazon to stay in stock on with their automated systems. And first-party brands have very little control over their inventory, which makes it also kind of especially challenging. And because of that, some brands are moving towards what we would call a hybrid model when they can. And so when we say a hybrid model, basically there are a couple of different marketplaces on Amazon and different relationships that you can have. So the most common, probably what most people have on this call, is a 1P retail relationship, which is kind of a wholesale relationship. And that's where Amazon, you provide your cost to Amazon, Amazon orders from you, and then they ship to their customers, ships from and sold by Amazon. There's also a third-party marketplace, so merchant marketplace sellers who are selling on the platform. And if you want to go impress your friends, you can further tell them that you know the difference between 2P and 3P, because 2P essentially means it's fulfilled by Amazon. So a seller would still control their inventory and pricing, but they ship out of an Amazon warehouse, and Amazon has fees for that. And then just a total 3P marketplace relationship is when you ship directly from your warehouse, and it's typically not Prime eligible, although some sellers can earn that badge if they have really good inventory management. And then the last relationship is this hybrid model. And just to let everybody know, Amazon has a very clear and stated policy that if you provide your products to their competitors in a wholesale relationship, you have to provide the same type of relationship to them. So it's very hard to just change your relationship. But in some cases, when Amazon doesn't want your products like crap, then typically, or sometimes a brand may have a hybrid model where they may become a merchant on those products. So again, it's best to always be open with Amazon and tell them about what you want to do. But this is kind of a model that some folks are moving towards. So as essential to building your brand and your brand presence on Amazon is making sure that you have really great content. And I like to break this out and prioritize between above the fold content and below the fold content. And you can kind of think of above the fold content as its role in search relevance, and then below the fold content, its role in conversion. With above the fold content, make sure you have a lot of images that explain your product. You can include short form video as a thumbnail image. And then below the fold content is really when you can build out enhanced content or A+ content. And this is for really considered purchases, products that need more information. It helps people convert after they've read a lot of content about your products. So I thought I would also explain a little bit more about Amazon's detail page algorithm, which is really important to understand as you prioritize and build out your content. So relevance relates to search. Amazon's search algorithms prioritize detail page content in the following order. So titles are most important, bullets, attributes, product descriptions. And that's why my advice is to focus on the above the fold content first, because it will have the biggest impact to improving your organic search results. And then performance relates to sales rank. And there's a lot that goes into these algorithms, and some of it's black box that we don't know, but this is what we do know. So there's a lot that goes into that, which is sales velocity, sales history, inventory levels, price, detail page conversions, and product reviews. So we actually had a client recently that just based on some optimizations of their detail page, they were able to improve their performance, their page conversion by 26%, and that was really great. So it's super important to improve your search relevance and have great content that helps you do that. So making sure that you employ a mobile-first strategy is really important, especially as the rise of mobile happens. So 80% of customers are shopping Amazon via mobile and 43% exclusively via mobile. I'm sure these are stats that Amazon has provided, and I'm sure it's growing even more. I'm sure for Prime Day, a lot of people shopped exclusively via mobile. But to this end, what can brands do? Ensure that you have mobile optimized images and content, and invest in marketing programs, specifically paid search and display advertising. Unilever is really trailblazing in the realm of mobile. They're creating mobile standards, and it's all free. They've produced a lot of free content and guidance on specs and resolutions of images. And if anyone's interested in this information, then please contact Danny or I, and we'd be happy to share that information with you. So when brand matters less, reviews and price matter more. So there's some categories on Amazon. CPG tends to be a lot. Brand is pretty important. People are searching Tide and 7th Generation, and they have the specific brand that they shop in mind. But other categories like pet leashes and cell phones cases are a lot less kind of brand loyal and brand specific. And in those cases, ratings and reviews really matter. Key decision factors are the star rating, the number of reviews, selling price, available promotions, and Prime eligible. A lot of people ask, how many reviews do you need? And I have some information on that in a couple of slides. But something I'd encourage people to look at is their competitive set. So in this case, when you have kind of the top selling cell phone cases and you have one review, but the top sellers all have thousands of reviews, that's where that can give you some data to help you understand where you should be at. And I don't know if anybody saw this new brand that recently launched called Brandless. So that is their brand. Just goes to the fact that when brand matters less, reviews and price matter that much more. So reviews are critical, as we've been talking about. Recency matters as it relates to impacting Amazon's algorithms. It tends to favor more recent reviews, so you want to make sure that they're not stagnant and that you keep an in-stream of reviews. You should respond and cut tickets to contest negative reviews when you can. So for example, if a review only talks about price, the price of the item, that's a case where you can actually potentially have that review removed. And new items, it's always great to launch with reviews. Amazon has a review program called Vine that will help you get reviews immediately. And kind of talking about how many reviews do you need. So even when you just add one, you get a boost in traffic. And tools like Clavis can help you identify and close that gap. It's really hard when you have a catalog and portfolio of many, many items of manually trying to do this, and having software like Clavis to help you is really nice. So next we'll get into driving your brand on Amazon, and that's really the promotions and marketing aspect. So there's really three pillars: merchandising, which is typically a flat fee model; AMS, Amazon Marketing Services, which is a cost per click and is search-based; and then AMG, Amazon Media Group, display advertising, which is a cost per 1,000 or CPM model that we will talk about. But first, so discounts. This is under the merchandising bucket. Customers on Amazon, of course, love discounts and offers, and there are lots of types that you can implement, from lightning deals to vendor power coupons to Alexa deals. I like to plan discounts strategically, and it takes advanced planning. Amazon requires at least a month in advance. because they have to plan for inventory. And then also making sure that you integrate with traffic driving vehicles like paid search and display advertising. It requires just a ton of coordination and planning, a lot of teams when you implement these things. And it used to be that you could just launch a promotion and people would find it. But with more and more products on Amazon, that's becoming harder and harder. And so these are screenshots from Prime Day from this past couple weeks ago, where there were at least 10,000 deals at all times, and discoverability is a little bit challenging. And so what brands are starting to do is not just have promotions and coupons, but they're actually leveraging social media channels, so Facebook, Twitter, display advertising, Amazon Media, to be able to really tell people about their deals so that they can actually see them. So paid search, I think we've all heard the stat, or most people have, that 55% of product searches start on Amazon. And so brands are more and more kind of shifting their budgets here to paid search on Amazon. There are 3 different ad types. Sponsored products and headline search are keyword-based, and product display ads are contextual, either interest or product targeted, so not keyword-based. And kind of the 2 newest things that have, I guess the latest news in paid search is that headline search has just opened up to third-party merchants. So sponsored products has always been eligible for first-party and third-party marketplaces, but headline search just recently opened up. And then one of the new things with product display ads just in time for Prime Day is that it enables people to integrate your lightning deal into the product display ad, which is pretty cool. And just a little thing on product display ads. So I guess I may be a little bit partial to this ad type because it was the one that one of the ones I worked on at Amazon. But it typically has the worst ROI. And if you think about it, it's really low in the purchase funnel. Customers are already on a detail page and about to buy something else when there's an ad there. And then also it doesn't have the relevancy constraints headline search and sponsored products have built into them. So Amazon will actually pause words that are irrelevant or not relevant in the algorithm in those ad types, which make them kind of perform a little bit better. And product display does not have that. But I just wanted to point out here, Burt's Bees has done a really great, especially recently. They're kind of really killing the word protein powder, which is, I'm sure, a very expensive word for them. But on the homepage, there's this nice ad, Designer Protein, that drives people to the Designer Protein page. And right there is the Burt's Bees product display ad with a nice call to action, 20% off, and then also, indicating something new. So I think this is just a nice example of how to leverage that ad type. So newly launched, I thought I would just stick this in here, something called brand stores. If you go to amazon.com/Amazon Basics, this is an example. It just launched in the last 2 weeks. It's pretty much like a brand page, their old one, but it's a unique web address. It kind of showcases the full portfolio of products. It's kind of a prettier page. It has pre-made mobile layouts, which is nice. And a caveat is it's free. But the reason why it's free is because you have to pay to drive traffic to them. So, the best place if you're trying to drive sales is to go to a detail page always. But this is kind of a nice way if you have a large portfolio to be able to showcase it. So my paid search tips in a nutshell are to set up and structure are extremely important. So make sure you spend a lot of time here. Run campaigns always on with seasonal ramp-ups. Amazon search is very product-focused, while Google search is intent solution-focused. So I wouldn't start keyword harvesting with a bunch of Google words, which kind of people sometimes tend to do. I like to play offense and defense and set different KPIs for these strategies. And so what I mean by offense is unbranded and competitive terms. And then defense is your own branded terms. You'll always have the best performance when you're bidding on your branded keywords, which is why I like to set different budgets for each of these. But it's important to defend your brand. And then use features with grain of salt. So what I mean by that, there's a few features that Amazon has built in, like Bid Plus. And Bid Plus is something where you automatically can bid 50% more for search terms. You enable that automatically. And one of the clients that I was working with, they had enabled this, and they thought that they were spending $10,000 a month, but they were actually spending $30,000 a month and spend because they had that enabled. So you just have to be really careful about enabling some of the features and know what they do. And to that end is number 6, reporting is very painful in AMS, and typically it requires outside work to manage your business. And then lastly, don't set and forget for optimal results. So just a couple more slides here. Now let's talk about display advertising, and we'll quickly wrap up with, there's 5, this is the CPM model, the cost per thousand, it's impression based. And so basically there's 5 different platforms, Fire TV and Kindle, and I have kind of dollar signs below that indicates pricing. So Fire TV and Kindle, I give it kind of $2 signs. Desktop can range significantly between $1 and $3 signs, and the difference is mostly above the fold and below the fold media. And then really to prioritize and to think about the most efficient media is mobile and AAP. So mobile, again, above the fold versus below the fold, very efficient below the fold media with $1 sign. And then AAP is Amazon's audience extension product. It's essentially their programmatic offering, and you're able to target people with Amazon's targeting off of Amazon and kind of wherever they are throughout the ecosystem of the internet. So targeting is really the gold of Amazon, and it's really important to build out a strategic framework with well-defined KPIs. This is actually something that Amazon has provided in the past for some of my clients, which is a framework that looks like this. And so really kind of creating your pillars of what your goals are between, potentially it's awareness or trial or retention, and having different targeting for each of these different kind of key goals, different creatives, and different metrics that you're tracking. So for example, with retention, let's say subscribe and save is a huge goal of yours. You're really trying to gain more people subscribing to your product. So you can target people this way, show them a subscribe and save ad, and then really track how many new subscriptions added through your media. So these are really important things to do to make sure that your display advertising is efficient and effective. And to give you a targeting example, which is really, like I said, it's the gold of Amazon Media. They have such a great way to target customers. And when I see plans that maybe haven't been as successful, typically the targeting wasn't as good as it could have been. And so really trying to understand how Amazon's targeting works and how you can build custom segments for your brands is a great way to drive media effectiveness. And so in this example of targeting, so let's say that you're Temptation, and one of your goals is to increase subscription penetration, which is subscribe and save as a percentage of your sales. So you can target people who've purchased your brand in the past. You can retarget them when they're off of Amazon with a subscribe and save ad, and then you can drive them back into Amazon to subscribe to your product. You can also make sure that you're targeting people who are subscribe and save lookalikes, so people who have subscriptions, meaning that they are more likely to then want to have more subscriptions versus people who have 0 and may not ever even know what the program is. So that's really such a core gold component of Amazon's platform. And then there are really 6 factors that can influence AMG results. And one of the things that I go in, I do a lot of marketing audits, and it's hard when you just have numbers to look at and you don't have all the metadata, which is what kind of these 6 things are, to have explanation of how you got to those numbers. So I think it's really important to look at the numbers at a high level, but then on a campaign basis to understand how these different variables have influenced your metrics and results. So one is, of course, retail readiness. You know, have to be in stock. If you're driving your display advertising to a product that's not in stock, that's a problem. People aren't going to buy it. And then also making sure that it's properly set up for tracking. That's the thing. So Amazon will track the attributed sales, but you need to make sure that you have all the ASINs associated with those campaigns set up correctly. The second one is targeting. So making sure that you understand what the targeting segments are. Number 3 is the creative. So the actual physical creative of what it looks like to the customers. I've seen some ads where I don't even know what the product is that's being advertised. And so that can influence results negatively. 4 is the call to action. And so, you know, do you have a strong call to action? Is it a branding ad? And then number 5 is which platform. So between desktop, Fire TV, you know, of course, Kindle is going to be much more of an awareness platform versus a, you know, more efficient direct response platform like mobile or AAP. And then lastly is the landing page. And I tried to prioritize these in order. They're all important. But, you know, the landing page sometimes can be confusing. Or, you know, if you're driving to a detail page, that's the best place for someone to convert. Or you may want to show a portfolio of products, but that may have a little less efficacy depending on how confusing or how well that landing page may look. So kind of wrapping all this up before I turn it over to Danny in my allotted time. Hopefully I've made it okay. But number 1 is the search algorithm basics. So if you don't show up in search, you don't exist. Number 2 is have to have enough content to convert. Number 3 is you obviously need to be in stock. Number 4 is you must have negotiations leverage in order to profit. Number 5 is making sure that you're leveraging the most effective and efficient marketing vehicles with highlights in paid search and media, especially AAP and mobile. And then lastly is your ability to report and measure results and its impact. And with that, I turn it over to Danny.
Fantastic, Melissa. Thank you so much. That was really insightful and informative. And I know we've already got a bunch of questions flowing in, and we're anxious to get to them. I want to just take a few minutes to build on the point around analytics in terms of how you could approach this in terms of analyzing your digital shelf. So before we get into some sort of broad themes and ideas on how to analyze the impact you're having, we wanted to share the framework that we use for this, which is 6P's e-commerce intelligence. It's a powerful framework we've developed here at Clavis, and it's important to understand it in the context of how to drive your business on Amazon and measure the results, as well as other online retailers. There's ultimately 5 Ps that are within the manufacturer control, broadly speaking, product, which is what you're selling, what's in distribution, and keeping it in stock. Its placement on the shelf. There's aspects of control in terms of working with the retailer around price and promotions, and finally creating that perfect product detail page. Those 5 Ps drive the 6th P of performance, of which search is one of the best proxies for measurement of impact. At the end of the day, the search algorithm is owned by the retailer, so manufacturers can't influence search directly, but you can drive the other 5 Ps, and that's ultimately going to fuel your results in search, as well, of course, as your top-line sales results and your share of the category. And from there, there's a series of ways to break that down in terms of how to analyze Amazon specifically. As we look at things like product, understanding buy box and your availability stats, your placement on the shelf, not just about cross-listing across categories, but also what's your strategy 1P versus 3P, and how those listings end up surfacing. Around price, there's a lot of monitoring you can do around margin, as Melissa called out, around proactively getting ahead of potentially products being designated as crap, MAP and first mover type of pricing analytics. On the perfect page side, of course, there's all kinds of aspects relative to content, title, correct images, features, and descriptions. Also, ratings and reviews and shopper Q&A also factor into that, creating that perfect page. Ultimately, they do weigh on your search algorithm and your search results, and are just as important as content to get right at the product detail page level. Finally, there's a range of promotions, as Melissa covered. Just to break that down a little bit, take a look at the product detail pages and how to analyze and how to analyze this down to the detail page level. So first of all, looking above the fold, the most important thing is that product image. You can't underemphasize how important that image is when, particularly in mobile search, most of search, the search behavior and the decisions made on what to click is tied to that image. We used to think it was just about making sure that the image matched what showed up in the box, but the reality is we all know we're visual beings, and that image can help influence whether or not you're going to get a click on that product detail page. So having the correct image is really critical. Filling up those secondary image slots is just as important as well. Often you may find 3P sellers have uploaded their own images, and they can start to fill in there as well. So the manufacturer really wants to have control over those by uploading as many secondary images as possible. Not to mention it gives you a chance to elaborate more on the product itself, whether it's an application or other product shots, whatever it may be. We strongly recommend video on every product detail page. We've seen recently, for example, there's a share feature on the product detail page where you can share it via text. I did that on a deal this week I was sharing with my wife, and I found that the video from the product detail page was in the preview on the text rather than the product image itself. So video is of rising importance, and I think Amazon clearly understands that. You're going to see increased focus on videos on the page. And then, of course, we get to the critical buy box. Is your product in stock? Has it been in stock? Keeping that product in stock is one of the most important things you can do to keep a product detail page relevant and surfacing in the search results. If it's in and out of stock, it's going to lose what we call weight or credibility within the search algorithm. So you really want to be focused on that, make sure that you're staying in stock, and that the buy box is actually Amazon if you're the manufacturer selling direct to Amazon. If you are relatively new to Amazon, pay very close attention to what it says after in stock. In this image, it says ships from and sold by Amazon. That means that Amazon is the merchant of record and it's shipping from Amazon. On other pages, you might see that it's a third-party seller and shipped by Amazon, or it might be a third-party seller who's also shipping it. All of that can really factor into your own success in terms of driving sales on the page. And finally, the price point is critical to track. And we've already touched on this in a couple places, but there's a number of things you want to keep an eye on when it comes to monitoring price on Amazon. Variations is also critical, so understanding shopper behavior in this case in terms of what variants they may be considering in the same purchase, perhaps by flavor or perhaps by size. It doesn't mean every single product variant should be on the same page. It really does depend on the consumer decision tree or the shopper decision tree, and having an understanding of how shoppers shop to determine what's the right balance of variation. And then there's quite a number of other aspects of the page, such as, is it enrolled in Subscribe and Save? What's happening down in the other sellers? Is there a lower price available? How are they impacting the price algorithm and the results on the page as well? We get into product content itself. How many bullets are populated? And you really want to have as many of those filled, whether it's 5 or 6, depending on the category. You really want to have hard-hitting copy that's feature benefit oriented and very compelling. Eye tracking studies have shown that generally only the first and second words get scanned before reading the rest of the bullets. So the leading copy on each bullet is really critical to optimize. And then, of course, there's all of the product content, the basic content around description, ingredients, warnings, and usage, as well as below-the-fold content such as A+ content. It's also where your promotions and AMS campaigns may also show up on other parts of the page. Around shopper-generated content, having an eye to how many questions and answers are there enough ratings and reviews, but then also understanding what are shoppers saying. By looking at things like word clouds, you can get to understand other keywords that may be relevant to be using in your search optimization. And then there's a whole range of performance analytics that gets into business trends, best sellers, what's rising and falling, am I tracking versus sales, are there any products that are at risk of being designated as crap, what's my share of the category, and so on. So there's really quite a range of analytics that are possible well beyond Vendor Central to fully understand how your business is performing. With that, I want to stop there. Make sure we leave some time here for questions and answers. We have quite a few that have queued up. And while Paul is queuing those up, just a quick 30 seconds here on how Clavis works if you're not familiar. Our technology harvests data from online retailers anywhere in the world, Amazon included. We basically bring back anything the shopper has potential to see, whether it's desktop, mobile web, or mobile apps for the retailer, and we're a SaaS solution that presents results in organized and actionable scorecards and reporting. We also have our newly launched OneView for Amazon, which takes data from Vendor Central, AMS, Amazon.com, as well as our own Clavis solution, and brings it together into over 200 points of actionable analytics. There are 12 different reports available that combine to offer those 200 points of analytics. Today it is launched in the US. In the near future we'll be expanding to other markets where Amazon has Vendor Central available. And with that, I will hand it back to Paul to facilitate the Q&A.
Great, thanks Danny. And thanks Melissa as well, really great insight. So as Danny mentioned, a ton of questions have come in, so thank you. If you do have questions, you can enter them into the Q&A box located on the right-hand side of your screen. The first one here concerns kind of the selling model. So Melissa, what are some factors to consider, whether to go, with a 1P, hybrid, or 3P selling model?
Well, like I said, first, it's Amazon's rule, which is if you sell to their competitors in a first-party direct relationship, then you need to sell to Amazon in a 1P direct relationship. So that's the first consideration. If that's not, within the parameter, then, third-party merchants, more and more, there's more parity between the 3P and 1P platform. It used to be with 1P that you'd have a lot more access to marketing activities. That's really not the case anymore. You would have access to more strategic relationships with your vendor manager. And so unless you're kind of a top brand, all the top brands typically have strategic relationships. But if you're, mid-tier or lower tier, then really what you need to do is look at the 3P FBA model. Look at there's a calculator that you can calculate your economics. You have to also, if you're a third-party merchant, then there's a lot that, you have to manage and control on your side. So are you prepared to be able to do that? There's firms that can do it for you. So those are all kinds of the considerations that you should look at. Is basically, you need to look at the economics of what's going to work the best for you. And then do you have the bandwidth and resources to be able to actually run that platform is another thing too.
Great, thanks. I see a number of questions coming in here about the deck and recording. So both will be available within approximately 2 days from this event. So this will be coming down the pike. Another one here on price. Can you address some ways to basically avoid price competitions with other channels, including club, and what are some tactics that you could use to avoid these issues?
That's one of the challenging ones. The pricing algorithm is smarter and smarter, and actually Amazon won't even price on the exact same SKU. If it's different pack size, different weight size, they'll still price match, and they will say that this channel problem is not their problem; it's the manufacturer's problem. And so, what are people doing? Some people are starting to implement MAP policies in categories that never used to have MAP policies, like pet food, as an example. Another one is there's an example of a brand that I talked to where they were super excited to get into Costco, and they gave Costco this killer price and deal, and what's the #1 arbitrage product on Amazon is their club hack on Amazon. So it's really important to look at your pricing models across your channels. You know, it's a tough challenge when it's the same product, it's highly commoditized, and it's sold everywhere, and it has started to become kind of this price down to the bottom. So you just have to think about, you know, multiple different options, you know, possibly creating different kind of SKUs for different channels. It's not great, but it's one of the biggest, hottest topics of what people are trying to look at doing right now. Those are a couple ways.
Yeah, and that last one's an important point just regarding e-commerce specific packs. We're seeing that more and more as a critical strategy, particularly for the, you know, the 80 for the 20, those items that are most strategically critical or driving the most revenue. We're seeing more and more manufacturers produce those e-commerce ready packs on their best codes specifically to address that issue. Another key aspect to this from our point of view is really understanding what else is driving this. And it comes in a few different forms, as Melissa highlighted. Part of it is your promotion strategy with other retailers, so not just everyday price, but a lot of the other brick and mortar retailers have a practice of matching whatever in-store promotion you're doing online as well as a hard price drop, and then Amazon matches that price. You'll note that Amazon never promotes on price. They'll offer coupons or discounts or coupon codes or VPCs, but they will never accept, you can't just get Amazon to drop price $2 because you fund a promotion that way, and they do that specifically for that reason. And encouraging other retailers to think differently about how to promote online will probably help the entire space in general. And the last one has to do with your own distribution channels. Looking at how you're liquidating product, look at how products are being discontinued, what retailers are doing with damaged and discontinued. A lot of that product ends up back online, and through arbitrage, those third-party sellers are making a profit off it. So there's a number of different aspects to it. And then, of course, from the Clavis point of view, data. So being able to actually go to a Walmart or a Target or any other retailer and Amazon as well and show, actually, I have the data to prove that you moved first on price and the rest of the retailers followed. It's something that we at Clavis have recently released called First Mover Analytics to help with that mover-follower behavior and start to get hard data around it.
Great. Here's one concerning crap status. So can you share any tactics or ways of work that suppliers could solve crap problems?
Yeah, I mean there's kind of a number of crap problems. So like I said, one is implementing a MAP policy. That's starting to people are starting to toy with that idea. Shift mixing to more profitable brands or even SKUs within your portfolio. A short-term fix that Amazon will always ask for is to fund your way out of crap. And that might be a short-term problem or fix, as you have a longer-term solution of looking at maybe it creating ship-in-own container or creating the packaging in a different way that makes it more profitable for Amazon to be able to ship it. If they're doing a lot of prep to your products, that's adding a lot of extra cost to it. So that's another way. Also, subscribe and save can sometimes provide a thin layer of protection. Amazon doesn't like to take items off of subscribe and save. So if your product is heavily in the subscription, there's a lot of people subscribing to it, then Amazon will probably try to help do a lot of things before they crap it out. You can look at lowering outbound shipping costs. There's also these different kind of platforms like Prime Pantry. So it may not be viable for the core platform, but for the Prime Pantry platform, that might be a more viable and more economically friendly model, since it's more of a stock up and market basket building model. That might be a better place for these items. Those are a few ways.
Great. Perfect. Thanks, Melissa. And we have time for a couple more questions here. Sorry, good one. I went right past it. Here we go. So for suppliers who are using a hybrid model, what are some ways to basically consolidate the management of, ASINs and product details page across Vendor Central and Seller Central?
Well, you really just need to have one place for that, and typically there's something called brand registry, where if you haven't claimed your brand in brand registry, you absolutely should do, and that's where you would be able to have control over your content and your product detail page. So you would do that. The management of your content should only be done in one, but you could be, the offer. It's just the offer that would be whether you're fulfilling it or not. Does that answer the question? I'm not sure if that answers the question or not, or if that was the...
Yeah, no, I think that seems to have.
Okay.
And then one last question before we wrap up here. Are there any success stories that you could share with Amazon Business for a CPG manufacturer? Really, how would you recommend attacking or pursuing this platform?
So all of the products that are available on the core platform, and I probably should have explained a little bit more on this, so thanks for asking the question. But everything that's available on the core platform typically automatically gets dropped into the business platform. So it should be available and eligible on the business platform, period. And then in terms of more promotions, Amazon is just now starting to kind of build out their business team and start to focus a lot more effort on it. And so the opportunities have not been as specific, but I would start talking to your vendor manager that you work with today on the core platform of how you can interact more and have more opportunities on the business platform, if that's something that you're interested in. But the first thing that you can do is provide the assortment that is more attractive to businesses, which are the larger pack quantities that they're ordering in. So making the biggest thing that you can do today is making sure that you have the assortment that kind of works for that platform, and then talking to the retail folks to be able to start integrating into some programs.
Great. Well, thanks once again, everyone, for your wonderful questions, and Danny and Melissa for your wonderful insight. A couple of quick items before we leave. We certainly do have some coming attractions from a live event perspective. Hopefully you'll be able to join us on September 26th in Chicago for the Path to Purchase's eCommerce Symposium. And then coming quickly in the heels after that will be our own Clavis Insight eCommerce Accelerator Summit. So certainly be on the lookout in our top 5 newsletter, as well as our website, email, and social channels for more information on both events. There will be a webinar survey which will pop up as you leave the webinar. Please do take the time to complete it. Certainly let us know what you thought about the webinar platform, the webinar content, as well as any suggestions for future topics. You could also use that as an opportunity to request more information from both Clavis Insight as well as Melissa. And as a thank you for completing the survey, you'll receive our newest one of our newest white papers, the Definitive Guide to Optimizing Brand Performance on Amazon. Once again, thank you everyone for logging in. Thank you, Melissa, for joining so early in your day, and Danny as well. So thanks, and have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you.